This is a short video illustrating how I built my slide-in F-150 Lightning camper. I spent about 6 months designing the camper in 3D CAD. I purchased a 3D model of the Lightning from a third party for visualization purposes, but I built my own simplified 3D Lightning model with more exact bed measurements and used that for actual CAD design of the camper. It was a 3D jigsaw puzzle to get everything to fit in a very small space. The camper is constructed of 1 inch by 1.5 inch lumber, glued and screwed together. The inside is then sheeted with 1/4 inch maple plywood, carefully squaring up the framing in the process. The plywood is glued and brad nailed to the studs. In most cases, I trimmed the plywood to match the framing with a trim router. For the floor and bunk, I also sheeted the outside with the same plywood. The exterior of the walls are covered with Phylon fiberglass. I made a huge mistake here by not sheeting the outside with plywood first, as the Phylon manufacturer recommends. I wanted to save weight and decided I could bond the Phylon to the studs in foam. Unfortunately, without the plywood, the Phylon distorts with temperature and pulls away from the foam. This creates large waves in the sides. It's a cosmetic issue, but one that severely distracts from the camper's looks. I'm still wrestling with how to fix this mistake. After I had the floors and walls built, I assembled them together upside down with deck screws after carefully scoring things up. Then I filled in the wheel well areas with plywood and painted all the bottom area. Finally, I added some carpet-covered strips for resting on the bed of the truck. The bunk was built the same way, but I sheeted both sides with plywood. Then I bonded Phylon to the bottom plywood. Note that this looks great in all temperatures. I then added some aluminum angle for fastening the bunk to the sides. To save weight, the roof is covered on both sides with Phylon with no plywood. Structurally, this works okay, but it shows large waves with temperature changes. If I did this again, I'd probably do a wet layup of carbon fiber over foam and paint it. I painted the floor with bed liner paint and caulked all the seams to make it waterproof. I applied 3 coats of polyurethane to the maple interior, then started building the cabinetry. I tried to minimize weight wherever possible. I followed my CAD design fairly closely, installing the water heater and plumbing. I installed an electrical breaker panel and pulled power in from the shore power connector. A cable connecting to the Lightning's Pro Power outlet in the bed must be installed before the camper is loaded, as access to the panel is not available once the camper is mounted. I installed some vinyl plank flooring, built drawers and a dinette table, then covered the table and countertop with black formica. I built a lightweight cabinet door using some leftover twin-wall acrylic material. Cutting and sewing the pop-up vinyl was a new experience for me. I purchased a heavy-duty sewing machine for the project and jumped in with both feet. The result isn't perfect, but not bad considering my lack of sewing skills. I made the sides and the front and back as separate pieces. Then I tacked into the camper with a staple gun, stretching them to eliminate as much slack as possible. I screwed on aluminum trim as I went along with butyl tape underneath to seal things up. I bonded the sides to the front and back with vinyl cement. I had to design and build a custom door for the camper. I purchased some extruded aluminum channel for the project and used some marine exterior plastic for the outside. I framed it much like the walls, but with only 1/2 inch foam. I mounted a standard RV door latch. I created the bunk extension from 1/2 inch particle board with 1.5 inch aluminum edge and side and rear supports attached to the walls. I fabricated a light 1-step ladder that is used with a small step stool. The flexible solar panel is attached to the roof via a T-track in the center and screws into the roof on the ends. In between are spacers attached with VHB tape. The solar controller is mounted underneath the dinette table. I built a simple dolly to store the camper when off the truck and to facilitate moving it from my shop to the center aisle of the barn. It's loaded onto the truck via overhead winches using the tie-down brackets. So that's an overview of how I built my tiny Lightning camper. If you'd like more details, please let me know. Thanks for watching.